Amaka and Chen sat perfectly still, the faint clinking of fine china echoing through the silent dining room like a bell tolling for the dead. A delicate gold fork rested between her manicured fingers, its intricate design matching the ancient dragon motif carved into the walls around her. Everything about this house screamed wealth, tradition, and power. Everything she had been raised to admire. And yet, as she stared across the long table at the man she had married, Amaka felt nothing but emptiness gnawing at her chest. Chen Wei was the kind of man any woman would have envied her for. Handsome in a sharp, chiseled way, his expensive charcoal suit molded perfectly to his broad shoulders. His black hair was slicked back with precision, not a strand out of place, and his thin-lipped smile was the very picture of elegance. To the world, they were the perfect couple, the stunning Nigerian heiress and the powerful Chinese businessman, a union designed to merge two empires. But to Amaka, it was nothing more than a gilded prison. She traced the rim of her teacup, hiding her face behind the delicate porcelain as Chen discussed upcoming business ventures with a voice as smooth as silk. Her mother would have been furious to see her like this, silent, obedient, playing the part of the dutiful wife while her mind roamed elsewhere. When Amaka had agreed to this marriage, she had been naive enough to hope that things might change. That perhaps, like the romance novels she devoured as a teenager, a business arrangement could blossom into love. Chen had seemed kind at first, attentive even. He bought her gifts, took her to the opera, smiled at her in a way that made her heart flutter. But somewhere along the line, the warmth had vanished. Now, their conversations were stiff and polite. Chen spent more time away from home, and when he was present, he was distant. Cold. Almost as if he were hiding something. Amaka, Chen said suddenly, his voice pulling her back to the present. His Mandarin was precise, but he always spoke English with her to make things easier. I'll be traveling for a few days. There are some matters in Guangzhou that require my attention. Her lips curved into a soft, practiced smile. Of course, Wei. Safe travels. He studied her for a moment, his dark eyes unreadable. Then, with a curt nod, he rose from the table and left the room without so much as a backward glance. As soon as his footsteps faded, Amaka let her shoulders sag, the mask slipping away. She hated how well she'd learned to play this role, how natural it felt to hide her true feelings. This isn't the life I wanted, she thought bitterly, pressing a hand against her chest. But it's the life I chose, and now I have to live with it. That night, Amaka tossed and turned in the vast emptiness of their marital bed. Sleep eluded her, thoughts spinning like storm clouds in her mind. At last, frustrated, she threw back the silk sheets and padded down the hall barefoot, intending to make herself some tea. That's when she heard it. A voice. Chen's voice. She froze outside his private study, her breath catching in her throat. The door was slightly ajar, and light spilled into the dark hallway. 7 days, Chen was saying in a low, urgent tone. Yes. The wine will be ready by then. Make sure it's strong enough that she won't remember a thing. Amaka's stomach turned to ice. Who was he talking about? She'll think it's just a romantic dinner, Chen continued, a faint laugh in his voice. By the time she realizes what's happening, it'll be too late. Tang Chi will already be in the room with her, and the reporters will capture everything. Once the story goes public, his reputation will be ruined, and I'll finally have the leverage I need to crush him. Tang Chi. Amaka had heard that name before. The Mun was a legend in the business world, China's most powerful tycoon, ruthless and untouchable. What could Chen possibly gain by dragging him into a scandal like this? Her heart pounded painfully as Chen kept speaking, each word a dagger to her chest. And as for her, once the world sees the footage, I'll have grounds for divorce. No alimony. No division of assets. My family's company will remain intact, and I'll finally be free to marry the woman I truly love. Amaka's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. The woman he truly loves? The room tilted around her. All those months of politeness, of carefully crafted affection. It had all been a lie. Chen hadn't just stopped loving her, he had never loved her. She was nothing more than a pawn in his scheme, a stepping stone to greater power. Her legs threatened to give way beneath her, but sheer willpower kept her upright. 7 days, Chen repeated, his tone hard now. This must go perfectly. Do not fail me. The phone clicked off. Amaka slipped away silently, retreating to the safety of her room. She closed the door and leaned against it, her entire body trembling. For a long moment, she allowed herself to break. Silent tears streamed down her face as she slid to the floor, clutching at the silk nightgown that suddenly felt like chains. She had loved him, or at least, she had wanted to. She had believed in him. And now he was planning to destroy her in the most humiliating way possible. 7 days. In 7 days, her life would be over. Unless. Amaka's tears dried slowly as a new emotion began to take root. Rage. If Chen thought she would simply crumble, he was wrong. She was her father's daughter, an Wosu heiress. Her bloodline was filled with warriors and rulers, not victims. And if Chen wanted a war, she would give him one. But she couldn't do it alone. Her mind raced back to the name Chen had spoken. Tang Chi. The enemy Chen wanted to destroy. The man who was supposed to be caught in this trap alongside her. If anyone had a reason to fight Chen, it was Tang. Amaka rose to her feet, wiping her face clean. By the time she looked in the mirror, the broken woman had vanished. In her place stood someone sharper, stronger, more dangerous. She would find Tang Chi, she would tell him everything. And together, they would turn Chen's plan back on him. A slow, fierce smile curved Amaka's lips. He thinks he's the only one who can play this game, she whispered to her reflection. But he's about to find out what happens when you underestimate me. The city of Shanghai glittered outside the window, its neon lights casting reflections across the glass like shards of fire. Somewhere out there, Tang Chi was moving through this world of power and wealth, unaware of the storm about to come crashing down. And Amaka Nwosu Chen was ready to become the storm. Amaka had spent the past 3 days moving through Shanghai like a shadow. Every smile she gave, every polite nod at the charity luncheons she was forced to attend, was an act. Beneath her calm exterior, she was plotting, calculating, waiting. 7 days. Now, only 4 remained until Chen's plan unfolded. The world saw Chen Wei as a visionary businessman with a perfect wife and a thriving empire. They didn't know the snake coiled beneath that polished exterior. But Amaka knew. She'd been in his house, his bed, his life. She had seen how easily he lied, how flawlessly he wore masks. And she was determined to strip him bare in front of the world. The only problem was Tang Chi. Chen had spoken of him with hatred that night, hatred so raw it had been almost frightening. It was clear this wasn't just business rivalry, it was personal. Tang wasn't merely a target to Chen. He was an obstacle to be destroyed. Amaka knew almost nothing about the man, only what she'd read in magazines and whispered gossip. He was a self-made billionaire, owner of one of the most powerful conglomerates in Asia, and infamous for his cold, ruthless approach to business. No scandals. No weaknesses. Northwest One never got close to Tang Chi unless he allowed it. Which made what she was about to do infinitely dangerous. The private club was hidden inside a gleaming skyscraper in the heart of Shanghai's financial district. Membership was invitation only, and only the most powerful elites were allowed through its mirrored doors. Chen came here often, but Tang Chi was rumored to own the building itself. Amaka stepped out of the car, her silk emerald dress hugging her curves and drawing attention even from the jaded patrons outside. Her high heels clicked against the marble floor as she strode toward the elevator, head high, mask firmly in place. To the world, she was still Mrs. Chen Wei, the elegant Nigerian socialite whose smile never wavered. Inside, her heart was a storm. The elevator doors slid open on the top floor, revealing a space bathed in low golden light. It wasn't noisy like other clubs. This was a sanctuary for deals worth billions. Discreet waiters moved silently among the tables, serving rare wines and expensive cigars. And there, at the far end of the room, was Tang Chi. He sat alone, back straight, an aura of power radiating from him like heat. His suit was perfectly tailored, the deep midnight blue fabric accentuating his tall, lean frame. But it was his eyes that struck Amaka the most, cold, sharp, and unyielding, like twin blades honed to perfection. For a moment, she faltered. He was even more intimidating than she had imagined. Tang looked up as if sensing her gaze. Their eyes met, and something electric sparked between them. Then his expression shuddered, revealing nothing. When Amaka approached, 2 large bodyguards moved to block her path. "I need to speak with Mr. Tang," she said calmly, her voice like velvet hiding steel. "No appointments," one of the men replied in Mandarin. "This is urgent," she insisted. "It concerns his empire, and his life." At that, Tang raised one hand slightly. The guards stepped aside, though their eyes never left her. Amaka's heels clicked softly as she crossed the room. When she reached his table, she inclined her head politely, every inch the graceful heiress. "Mr. Tang," she said, her tone formal. Thank you for seeing me on such short notice. I didn't agree to see you, Tang replied coolly, his deep voice smooth but edged with danger. You forced your way in. Sit. The command in his voice made her pulse jump. She sat opposite him, folding her hands to hide the tremor in her fingers. Tang studied her silently for a long moment, his gaze unnerving. You are Chen Wei's wife, he said finally, his Mandarin precise but his English flawless.
Yes, she admitted.
And yet you've come to me.
Why?
Amaka took a slow breath.
This was it.
There would be no second chance. Because Chen Wei is plotting against both of us, she said. He plans to destroy your reputation and end my life as I know it. In 4 days, unless we act, he will succeed. Tang didn't react. He merely sipped his drink, watching her over the rim of the glass. You have proof, he said at last. It wasn't a question.
Yes.
Amaka reached into her clutch and produced a slim recording device. With a press of a button, Chen's voice filled the air between them. Smooth, cold, damning. They both listened in silence as Chen outlined his plan to drug Amaka and stage a scandal with Tang, complete with reporters and false witnesses. When the recording ended, the silence was deafening. Tang's expression didn't change, but the air around him seemed to thrum with restrained fury. If this is true, he said slowly, your husband is either very brave or very stupid. He's both, Amaka said bitterly. I thought he loved me, Mr. Tang. That's why I married him. But this marriage was never about love. It was a business transaction, a way for our families to grow stronger. And now he wants to discard me like a piece of trash while he consolidates his power. Her voice wavered, but she forced herself to remain calm. She couldn't afford weakness now. I won't let him win. And I suspect you won't either. Tang leaned back, steepling his fingers. You came to me because you need help, he said. But what do I gain from protecting you? Amaka met his gaze squarely, the fire in her eyes matching his cold steel. Revenge. The chance to destroy Chen Wei before he destroys you. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. Help me, and together we can turn his trap against him. We can humiliate him publicly, ruin his empire, and leave him with nothing. For the first time, something flickered in Tang's eyes. Interest. And how do you propose we do that? He asked. I will stay close to him, play the perfect wife until the last moment. On the night of the planned scandal, we will switch the roles. Instead of me being caught with you, the evidence will reveal Chen's betrayal. He'll be the one exposed before the entire world. Tang was silent for a moment, considering. Then he said, You are very bold, Mrs. Chen. Boldness can be dangerous. I have nothing left to lose, she replied quietly. Their gazes locked, a silent challenge passing between them. Finally, Tang nodded once. Very well. We will work together. Relief surged through Amaka, but before she could speak, Tang held up a hand. Understand this, Amaka, he said, his tone suddenly hard. I do not tolerate betrayal. If you turn on me, if you so much as think of deceiving me, you will regret it. Amaka's chin lifted. I could say the same to you. For a moment, surprise flickered across Tang's face. Then, to her shock, the corner of his mouth curved slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was dangerously close. Good, he murmured. At least you're not a coward. As they finalized the first steps of their plan, Amaka's phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Chen. Dinner tomorrow night. Just you and me. Don't be late. Her blood ran cold. The game had officially begun. She looked up at Tang, who was watching her with an intensity that stole her breath. 4 days, she whispered. Tang's expression darkened, his voice low and lethal. 4 days, he agreed. And then, Amaka, your husband will learn exactly what happens when he tries to play games with me. Amaka's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the delicate jade necklace around her throat. In the mirror, she looked flawless. Her emerald silk gown hugged her curves perfectly, her makeup a work of art that enhanced her natural beauty without overpowering it. She looked every inch the glamorous, devoted wife Chen Wei expected her to be. But beneath the polished exterior, her heart pounded with a mixture of rage and icy determination. Tonight's dinner wasn't just a romantic gesture. It was Chen's opening move in the game that would destroy her life. And he had no idea she already knew his plan, or that she had one of her own. She smoothed her dress, forcing her trembling hands to still. You cannot falter now, Amaka. If he suspects anything, it's over before it begins. The private dining room at Chen's favorite restaurant was lavish, a stunning blend of modern luxury and old-world Chinese artistry. Soft golden light glowed from hanging lanterns, reflecting off the polished mahogany table set for two. Chen was already there when she arrived, his expression warm and charming as he rose to greet her. "You look breathtaking," he said smoothly, taking her hand and brushing a kiss over her knuckles. To anyone watching, he was the picture of a devoted husband. Amaka smiled softly, leaning in to kiss his cheek.
"Thank you, Wei."
"You look handsome yourself." Inside, bile rose in her throat. His touch, once thrilling, now felt like poison. They settled into their seats, and Chen began to speak about his trip to Guangzhou, about new contracts and partnerships, all the while exuding confidence and charm. Amaka responded appropriately, laughing lightly when expected, nodding at the right moments. She even reached across the table once to touch his hand, earning a pleased smile from him. It was all a performance. Because while Chen thought he was weaving a trap around her, Amaka was already spinning her own web. 2 nights earlier, Amaka had met Tang Chi again, this time at his private penthouse overlooking the glittering Shanghai skyline. The space was minimalist yet opulent, with floor-to-ceiling windows and sleek black furniture. Tang stood by the window, a glass of whiskey in hand, his posture relaxed but his eyes sharp as he watched her approach. "You came," he said simply.
"Of course," Amaka replied.
"Time is short." He gestured for her to sit, then turned to face her. "Chen believes he is playing a clever game," Tang said, his voice cool. "But he has underestimated 2 things, your intelligence and my ruthlessness." Amaka met his gaze steadily. "We need to be certain. If we make a single mistake, he wins. I can't let that happen." Tang studied her, his expression unreadable. "You have strength," he said finally. "But strength without strategy is useless. We will do this my way." He moved to a hidden panel on the wall and revealed a digital screen displaying files and photographs. "These are Chen's business holdings," Tang explained. "He has been quietly siphoning funds through shell companies for months. When the scandal breaks, these files will ensure he loses not only his reputation but also his fortune." Amaka's eyes widened. "You've been tracking him all this time?"
"Of course."
Tang's mouth curved into something like a smirk. "Chen has been a thorn in my side for too long. But I needed the right moment to strike. Now, thanks to you, I have it." She leaned forward, her pulse quickening. "What do you need me to do?" "Play your role," Tang said simply. "Smile at him. Let him believe you are still his loyal wife. And on the night he plans to humiliate you, we will turn the spotlight on him instead." Amaka swallowed hard, nodding. Then Tang's expression grew darker, more intense. "There is one more thing," he said. "Your marriage license." "What about it?" Tang's eyes locked on hers, sharp and unyielding. "I had my legal team investigate. Your marriage to Chen was never properly registered with the civil authorities. On paper, you are not his wife at all." Amaka's breath caught.
"What?"
"It was deliberate," Tang said coldly. "Chen wanted all the benefits of a business alliance without giving you any legal power over his assets." The revelation hit her like a physical blow. All those sacrifices, all the public appearances, all the humiliation, and she hadn't even been his wife in the eyes of the law. Fury flared hot in her chest, eclipsing her hurt. "So I've been living a lie this whole time," she whispered. "Yes," Tang said. "But this also gives us an advantage." Amaka stared at him, uncertain. Tang stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "If you and I were to marry legally, quietly, without anyone knowing, it would render Chen's entire plan useless. He cannot accuse you of adultery if you are not his legal wife. And as my wife, you would gain the power and protection you need to face him." The air between them crackled with tension. Amaka's heart raced as she searched Tang's face. "Are you suggesting a marriage of convenience?" Tang's lips curved slightly. "I am suggesting a partnership. One that benefits us both. Together, we will destroy Chen Wei and build something far greater in his place." Amaka hesitated, fear and excitement warring within her. Marry Tang Chi? It was unthinkable. Reckless. And yet, it was the only way to secure her future. "I'll do it," she said finally, her voice firm. Tang's gaze softened almost imperceptibly. "Good," he murmured. "We'll sign the papers tomorrow. After that, Chen Wei won't know what hit him." Back in the present, Amaka forced herself to focus on the dinner at hand. Chen was pouring her wine, his expression indulgent. "To us," he said smoothly, raising his glass. "To us," she echoed, clinking her glass against his. The irony almost made her laugh. As the evening wore on, Chen reached across the table to tuck a stray curl behind her ear. "You've been distant lately," he said, his tone deceptively gentle. "Is something wrong?" Amaka smiled, masking her hatred with flawless grace.
Nothing's wrong, Wei.
"I've just been adjusting. This life is still new to me." Chen's dark eyes searched hers, then he leaned back, apparently satisfied.
"Good.
"Because I've been thinking about our future.
I want us to have a night to ourselves. Just the two of us after the next gala.
No business, no interruptions." Amaka's heart stuttered. The night of the trap. She kept her voice light, her smile warm. "I'd like that," she said softly. Inside, she was already calculating every move she and Tang would need to make. Later, as she returned to the mansion, Amaka found Tang waiting in the shadows near the gardens. Her pulse leaped at the sight of him, tall, powerful, his presence as commanding as the night itself. "How did it go?" he asked, his deep voice sending shivers down her spine. "He suspects nothing," she whispered.
"But the night is set.
4 days from now."
Tang nodded, his jaw tight. "Good.
"Everything is proceeding as planned." He stepped closer, so close she could smell the clean, expensive scent of his cologne. "And our marriage?" Amaka's breath caught. The ceremony had been private and swift, witnessed only by Tang's trusted advisor and a government official bound by confidentiality. She was legally his wife now, a fact Chen would never suspect until it was far too late. "It's done. I signed the papers and sent them back to your lawyer," she said quietly. Tang's dark eyes burned into hers. "Then we are truly bound, Amaka. Remember this, you are no longer Chen Wei's pawn. You are mine." Her heart skipped a beat at the possessiveness in his tone. It should have angered her, but instead, it sent a thrill through her veins. For a moment, neither of them moved. The air was charged, heavy with unspoken desires and dangerous possibilities. Then Tang stepped back, his control slipping back into place. 4 days, he repeated. 4 days, Amaka echoed. The countdown had begun. Amaka slipped back into her role as the perfect wife, smiling beside Chen at public events, playing the adoring partner in private. Every touch, every laugh, every shared glance was a lie. And with each passing day, the tension between her and Tang grew, simmering beneath the surface like a volcano ready to erupt. In just 4 days, the world would see the truth. And Amaka would finally be free. But freedom, she was beginning to realize, always came with a price. The gala glittered like a scene from a dream. Golden chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting a warm glow on the sea of glittering gowns and tailored suits. Laughter and clinking glasses filled the air, the perfect cover for deceit and ambition. Amaka's crimson dress flowed around her like liquid fire as she walked beside Tang Chi, her chin held high even though her heart was thudding painfully in her chest. She had been trained all her life to wear a mask, to smile through storms, and tonight was the performance of a lifetime. This was the night everything would end. 4 days, she and Tang Chi had worked tirelessly, every move carefully choreographed to outmaneuver Chen's treachery. The plan had been simple but dangerous. Chen would try to drug her and send her into Tang Chi's bed, with reporters ready to pounce on the scandal. Instead, Tang Chi's men had swapped the drink earlier, setting a decoy so they could gather proof of Chen's scheme and destroy him in one stroke. Amaka had rehearsed her role endlessly, appearing nervous yet compliant, as though she were falling into Chen's trap. By the end of the night, Chen would be exposed, Tang Chi's empire would remain untarnished, and she would be free. At least, that was what she told herself. But as she scanned the glittering room, unease prickled the back of her neck. Chen was nowhere to be seen, though she could feel him watching. Somewhere in this crowd of sycophants and schemers, her husband was planning his final move. Tang Chi must have sensed her tension. His hand brushed against hers, steady and warm. "Breathe," he murmured, his deep voice low enough for only her to hear. "We hold the upper hand tonight." Amaka forced a smile, but his calm words didn't ease the tightness in her chest. She trusted Tang Chi, far more than she should. Somewhere between late-night strategy meetings and stolen glances, her fear of him had shifted into something far more dangerous: desire. She couldn't afford to think about that now. Tonight was about survival. As the evening wore on, The first part of their plan unfolded flawlessly. Tang Chi's men discreetly secured the spiked wine Chen had sent ahead, replacing it with harmless decoys. Amaka played her part perfectly, laughing softly as she mingled with guests, subtly guiding reporters' attention exactly where Tang Chi wanted them. "Everything is in place," one of Tang Chi's bodyguards murmured in passing. Amaka exhaled, relief flooding through her. "We've got him." And then, everything shifted. A hush rippled through the crowd as Chen entered the ballroom. He was immaculate in a midnight blue suit, his handsome face arranged into a charming smile. To anyone else, he looked like a devoted husband and sophisticated businessman. But when his dark eyes met Amaka's, her stomach turned to ice. "My beautiful wife," Chen said warmly, kissing her cheek. "You weren't supposed to arrive until later," Amaka replied, her tone polite, hiding her dread. Chen's gaze flicked briefly to Tang Chi, his smile never faltering. "Ah, Tang Chi always in the right place at the right time. I thought it only proper we speak, privately." Tang Chi's jaw tightened. "We have nothing to discuss." "On the contrary," Chen said smoothly, his grip tightening on Amaka's hand. "We have everything to discuss. Come. I've reserved a VIP room for us. Less noise, less distraction." Before Amaka could object, Chen was already guiding them through the glittering maze of tables toward a secluded hallway guarded by two of his men. Tang Chi followed, his eyes sharp with suspicion. Amaka's pulse hammered in her ears. This wasn't part of their plan. The VIP room was lavish, soundproofed, and eerily quiet. A single round table stood at its center, set with an unopened bottle of rare wine and 3 crystal glasses. The air was heavy, almost suffocating, as Chen motioned for them to sit. "A toast," Chen said, his tone deceptively pleasant. "To partnerships, and to new beginnings." Amaka's breath caught when Chen uncorked the wine himself. This wasn't the drink they'd intercepted earlier. This was new. A wild card Tang Chi hadn't accounted for. "Drink," Chen urged, pouring the deep red liquid into each glass. When Amaka hesitated, his smile sharpened. "Surely my wife and her associate wouldn't insult me by refusing?" Tang Chi's voice was cold. "You drink first." Chen chuckled softly, swirling his glass but making no move to sip. "Oh no, my friend. Tonight, ladies first." Amaka's hand trembled as she reached for her glass, fear knotting her stomach. She could practically feel Tang Chi's fury radiating beside her. Before she could bring the glass to her lips, Tang Chi snatched it away, glaring at Chen. "Enough," Tang Chi snarled. And in one swift, defiant motion, he downed the entire drink. "No." Amaka gasped, lunging toward him. Chen's laugh was cold and victorious. "Bold move, Tang Chi, but tragically foolish." Tang Chi staggered, his body swaying. His breathing grew ragged, his pupils dilating with dangerous speed. He turned toward Amaka, his face contorted with realization. "Amaka, it's the aphrodisiac. Get out." His words broke off in a growl. Before she could flee, Chen grabbed her wrist and forced a second glass into her hand. "You wanted to play games, wife," he hissed. "Let's see how you like losing." He shoved her backward. The wine splashed against her lips, and she coughed, choking as the bitter taste flooded her senses. Her body went molten almost instantly, heat curling through her veins, her heartbeat pounding in places she didn't want to acknowledge. The world blurred into a fevered haze. Tang Chi's strong hands caught her before she fell, his body burning as hot as her own. Their eyes met, wild, desperate, and helplessly drawn to each other. "This isn't us," Amaka gasped, even as her lips trembled against his. "No," Tang Chi growled, his breath ragged. "But I can't." Their mouths crashed together, the last remnants of reason obliterated by the drug coursing through their blood. Passion ignited between them like a storm, raw and consuming. Every touch was fire, every gasp a plea neither of them could stop. They became lost in each other, tangled in silk sheets and shadows, their cries echoing in the sealed room. Somewhere beyond the haze, Amaka Chen had gotten exactly what he wanted. But she couldn't stop. Neither of them could. When dawn came, the fever broke. Amaka awoke with a sharp gasp, the room spinning as memories flooded back. Tang Chi lay beside her, his powerful body still intense, his expression dark and unreadable. Reality crashed over her like icy water. The plan had worked in part. Chen's scheme was exposed, his allies implicated, and reporters had captured everything. But none of that mattered now. Because Chen had also won. Amaka clutched the blanket to her chest, trembling. We weren't supposed to. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Tang Chi sat up, his gaze searing into hers. No, he said quietly, his voice rough. But it did. And now there's no going back. He rose to his full, commanding height, towering over her like a storm ready to break. Chen thinks he can destroy us with this, Tang Chi said, his tone lethal. But he doesn't understand. You're my wife now, Amaka. And I don't share what's mine. Her breath caught. Wife. The secret Amaka had uncovered, that her marriage to Chen had never been properly registered, meant her union with Tang Chi was real. What had begun as a calculated move for revenge was now irrevocable. Amaka's heart pounded as she met Tang Chi's intense gaze. Outside, sirens wailed and Chen's empire began to unravel. But inside that room, another battle was just beginning, one of desire, power, and a dangerous new bond neither of them could deny. The morning headlines burned like fire across every screen in Shanghai. Scandal at Gala. Heiress Amaka and billionaire Tang Chi caught in shocking affair. Chen Group faces unprecedented fallout amid leaked videos. Reporters clustered outside the Grand Hotel where the gala had been held, cameras flashing as they shoved microphones at anyone even tangentially connected to the Chen or Tang families. The images were everywhere. Grainy footage of Amaka and Tang Chi stumbling into the VIP suite, their bodies pressed too closely together, their clothes disheveled when they emerged hours later. It was exactly the damning scene Chen had wanted the world to see. Except this time, there was more. Tang Chi's men had captured evidence of Chen's manipulation, recordings of his calls, documents showing his bribery of reporters, and proof of the aphrodisiac-laced wine. The narrative was shifting. Instead of a story of a cheating heiress, it had become one of corruption and betrayal, with Chen standing at the center. Inside Tang Chi's private penthouse, Amaka sat curled on the edge of an oversized leather couch, trembling despite the warm sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. She had changed into a simple silk robe, her hair loose around her shoulders. But nothing could wash away the memory of the night before, the feverish heat, the wild desperation, Tang Chi's body moving with hers until everything blurred. She couldn't meet his eyes. Not yet. The guilt and confusion were too raw. Tang Chi stood near the window, hands clasped behind his back, his powerful frame radiating barely contained fury. He had been on calls since dawn, coordinating damage control, ordering his men to tighten security around Amaka. His empire was safe, for now, but Chen was far from defeated. Finally, he turned to face her. "You're too quiet," Tang Chi said, his voice low and controlled, though his eyes burned with an intensity that made her stomach twist. "Say what's on your mind." Amaka swallowed hard. "What is there to say? The entire world saw us like that." Her voice cracked, shame and anger colliding. "Chen wins no matter what. Even if the evidence proves he drugged us, people will still whisper. My family's name will be dragged through the mud." Tang Chi strode toward her, his presence overwhelming. "No. Chen does not win." He crouched before her, his hand cupping her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Listen to me, Amaka. You are my wife now, and I will protect you. No one will dare disrespect you while you are under my name." Her breath caught. The word wife still rattled her. Their marriage had begun as a strategy, a way to nullify Chen's original plan. But after last night, after the fevered passion they couldn't deny, it felt frighteningly real. "You don't understand," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "My marriage to Chen may not have been properly registered, but I stood before God and my family and vowed to be his wife. I let myself believe he cared for me, even when he was planning my destruction. And now the whole world knows what we—" She trailed off, her face burning. Tang Chi's thumb brushed a tear from her cheek, his expression softening for the first time. "Amaka, Chen never deserved you. He used you as a pawn to build his empire. I will never do that." Her heart thudded painfully. "And what am I to you, Tang? Another pawn? A convenient weapon against your enemy?" His eyes darkened, his grip tightening. "No. You are mine. My partner. My equal." His voice dropped to a dangerous growl. "And if Chen thinks he can destroy us, he is gravely mistaken." As if summoned by his name, Tang Chi's head of security burst into the room. "Boss," the Mun said urgently, "Chen is making moves. He's trying to spin the narrative, claiming that you drugged him and Amaka to frame him. He's bribing several high-level officials to suppress our evidence. Tang Chi's jaw clenched. And the media? Divided. Some outlets believe us, others are siding with Chen. But there's more. He's issued a private bounty for the original footage of the VIP room. If he gets it, he could edit it to his advantage. Amaka's blood ran cold. What does that mean?
Tang Chi's voice was like ice.
It means Chen wants to rewrite the story completely. He'll make it look like you willingly betrayed him with me. If that happens, even the truth won't save us. Panic clawed at Amaka's chest. This is never going to end, is it? He'll keep coming after us until one of us is destroyed. Tang Chi straightened, his presence filling the room like a storm. Then we destroy him first. The sheer certainty in his tone stole her breath. Tang Chi wasn't just defending himself now, he was declaring war. That evening, Tang Chi and Amaka attended a press conference. The room was packed with reporters, cameras flashing like lightning. Chen had released a carefully worded statement earlier, painting himself as a wronged husband and shrewd businessman. But Tang Chi was ready to strike back. He stood tall at the podium, Amaka by his side, her hand tucked into his arm. This is not a scandal, Tang Chi began, his deep voice resonating through the hall. It is a crime. My wife and I were targeted by a man consumed by greed and envy. We have evidence of Chen's actions and we will pursue justice with every legal and financial resource at our disposal. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Tang Chi displayed the recordings and documents his team had gathered. Chen's calm facade shattered in real time on social media feeds across the world. He also explained how Chen had refused to register his marriage to Amaka, despite having gotten married a while ago, and that Chen had still refused to let her go when she decided to remarry, which made him plan this as a malicious attempt at revenge. Amaka felt the weight of 100 eyes on her, but when she looked at Tang Chi, she found strength in his unwavering presence. For the first time, she wasn't just fighting for survival, she was fighting with someone who truly stood by her side. Later that night, after the press conference ended and their enemies scrambled to regroup, Tang Chi and Amaka returned to the safety of his private residence. Amaka paced the bedroom, her nerves frayed. You didn't have to call me your wife in front of everyone, she said, her voice trembling. Now there's no going back. Tang Chi closed the door, his gaze locking on hers. There was never any going back, Amaka. Not since the moment you walked into my office with fire in your eyes. Her pulse raced as he approached her slowly, like a predator stalking prey. We can't keep doing this, she whispered, backing up until her legs hit the edge of the bed. Last night it wasn't us. It was the drug. His hands framed her face, tilting her chin up. Was it? His voice was a dark caress. Tell me you didn't want me. Tell me you don't want me now. Amaka's lips parted, but no words came. Because she couldn't lie, not to him, not to herself. Tang Chi kissed her then, deep and possessive, erasing the last of her doubts. Their clothes fell away like the lies and betrayals of the past, leaving only truth between them, raw, undeniable desire. This time there was no drug, no manipulation, only them, choosing each other in the midst of chaos. When dawn broke, Amaka lay tangled in Tang Chi's arms, her body aching but her heart strangely light. For the first time since the nightmare began, she felt safe. But as Tang Chi stroked her hair, his expression was grim.
Chen won't stop, he said quietly. He's lost too much to walk away now.
The next move he makes will be violent. Amaka swallowed hard. Then we'll be ready. Tang Chi kissed her forehead, his voice a vow. We're not just going to survive this, Amaka. We're going to win. And when we do, we'll build something even he can't destroy. Her fingers tightened around his.
A dynasty.
Not just built on power or vengeance, but on the fierce, burning love that had begun to take root between them. The city never slept, but tonight, Shanghai felt eerily quiet.
Too quiet.
Tang Chi sensed at the moment he stepped out onto the balcony of his penthouse. The night air was crisp, the skyline glittering like a million false promises, yet beneath it all was a tension that made his instincts scream.
Chen was planning something.
Something more dangerous than a smear campaign or political bribes. Behind him, Amaka wrapped a silk robe tightly around her body, her hair tumbling in soft waves down her shoulders. You haven't said a word about all of this since the press conference, she said softly. Talk to me, Tang. He turned to face her, his jaw tight. I'm thinking about Chen's next move, he admitted. We humiliated him tonight. Men like Chen don't forgive humiliation, they retaliate.
Amaka swallowed, fear fluttering in her chest.
You think he'll come after us physically?
Tang Chi didn't answer. He didn't have to. The grim look in his eyes said enough. Instead, he crossed the room in 3 long strides and cupped her face in his hands.
You need to stay here. Don't go anywhere without my men. Promise me, Amaka. Her lips trembled.
Tang, I can't hide forever. He's not just after you, he's after me, my family. I need to face this. His grip tightened, his voice low and commanding. You will face it. But not like this. Not without me.
Their gazes locked, a silent war of wills raging between them. Finally, Amaka nodded, though her heart rebelled against her own submission. She wasn't just some porcelain doll to be tucked away in a glass case. She was fire, and fire couldn't be caged. By midnight, the storm Tang Chi had feared arrived. It began with a single, sharp crack, the sound of a rifle echoing across the rooftop. The glass balcony door shattered, shards spraying into the room like deadly rain.
Down!
Tang Chi roared, throwing himself over Amaka as bullets tore through the penthouse. His security team rushed in, guns drawn, shouting orders in rapid Mandarin. Sniper, one man barked. 2 more on the adjacent rooftop. The lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. Only the cold glow of the city skyline remained, casting eerie shadows across the chaos. Amaka's breath came in short, panicked gasps. Tang, what's happening? They're here for you. His voice was sharp, decisive. He hauled her to her feet and dragged her toward a hidden panel in the wall. It slid open to reveal a reinforced steel door and a narrow escape tunnel. Go, he ordered.
No.
She clung to his arm, shaking. I'm not leaving you behind.
His eyes blazed.
If you love me, Amaka, you'll run. I'll find you. Her heart cracked at the raw command in his tone. Before she could protest again, he kissed her fiercely, desperately, then shoved her into the tunnel just as another volley of bullets ripped through the room. The tunnel led to a secure garage beneath the building. Tang Chi's most trusted bodyguard, Wu Jian, was waiting with a sleek black SUV. Madam, please, get in, he barked, holding the door open. Amaka hesitated, glancing back toward the tunnel entrance. She could hear faint shouting, the staccato rhythm of gunfire. Tang is still up there, she whispered, tears burning her eyes. Wu Jian's face softened for only a second. Boss Tang can handle himself. Right now, his only order is to get you to safety. Before she could reply, the garage door exploded inward with a deafening boom. 2 black vans screeched to a halt, men in combat gear spilling out like a wave of darkness.
Drive!
Wu Jian roared, firing his weapon as he dove into the SUV. The tires squealed, rubber burning against concrete as the car shot forward. Amaka clutched the seatbelt with white-knuckled hands. They're everywhere, she gasped, twisting to see through the rear window. The black vans were in pursuit, headlights blazing. Wu Jian swerved through the labyrinth of city streets, his face a mask of calm fury. Hold on, Miss Amaka. We'll lose them. But Chen's men were relentless. The chase became a deadly dance through Shanghai's neon-lit nightscape. At every corner, another van appeared. At every turn, more gunfire. Finally, a bullet struck the rear tire. The SUV spun out of control, crashing into a deserted construction site. Wu Jian groaned, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. Run, he gasped.
Go, now.
Amaka stumbled out of the vehicle, heart pounding. She sprinted through the maze of half-built structures, the sound of boots pounding behind her. A rough hand grabbed her arm, yanking her backward. No, she screamed, kicking wildly. Her attacker snarled in Mandarin, raising a syringe filled with a cloudy liquid. Before he could plunge it into her skin, a low, deadly voice cut through the night. Touch her and you die. Tang Chi emerged from the shadows like a vengeful god, his shirt streaked with blood, his eyes glowing with murderous rage. He moved so fast Amaka barely saw him strike. One moment the attacker stood, the next he crumpled to the ground, lifeless. Tang seized Amaka, pulling her into his arms. Are you hurt? She shook her head, sobbing against his chest. I thought I lost you. You'll never lose me, he vowed, his voice raw. Not while I'm breathing. But their reunion was short-lived. More of Chen's men flooded the site, weapons raised. Tang Chi shoved Amaka behind a stack of steel beams and turned to face them, his body a shield. Then a slow,
Mocking clap echoed across the darkness. Chen himself stepped forward, flanked by his elite guards. He was immaculate as always, dressed in a tailored black suit, his smile cold and serpentine. Well, well, Chen purred. The mighty Tang Chi, reduced to playing bodyguard for a woman who was never truly yours. Tang's fists clenched. You've gone too far, Chen. This ends tonight. Chen's laughter was like broken glass. Oh, it ends, all right. But only for one of us. His gaze slid to Amaka, sharp and cruel. Poor Amaka. Always caught between powerful men. Did you really think you could escape me? You're mine. You always were. Amaka's fear ignited into fury. No, she spat, stepping out from behind the beams. I was never yours, Chen. And I never will be. Her defiance drew a ripple of surprise from Chen's men, and a dark, proud smile from Tang Chi. Bold words, Chen sneered. But words won't save you. He snapped his fingers. His men surged forward. Tang Chi met them head-on, a whirlwind of controlled violence. Even outnumbered, he fought like a man possessed, each strike fueled by his love for Amaka and his hatred for Chen. But Chen didn't fight fair. As Tang Chi battled, Chen slipped behind him, seizing Amaka by the hair and pressing the syringe to her throat. One more step, Chen hissed, and she dies. Tang froze, chest heaving. Blood dripped from a cut above his brow, his muscles trembling with rage. Let her go, Chen. Chen smirked. Kneel, Tang. Kneel, and maybe I'll spare her. For a moment, Tang Chi looked ready to comply. His knees bent, his hands lowering. Then he struck, lightning fast. A hidden dagger flashed in his palm, slicing across Chen's wrist. Chen screamed, dropping the syringe. Amaka kicked him in the stomach, breaking free. Run. Tang roared. She didn't run. Instead, she grabbed a heavy steel rod and swung it with every ounce of strength she possessed, knocking one of Chen's guards unconscious. Together, she and Tang fought back-to-back until Chen's men lay broken on the ground. When the dust settled, Chen himself was gone, slinking away into the night like the rat he was. As dawn painted the horizon pink and gold, Tang Chi and Amaka stood amidst the wreckage, bruised and bloodied but alive. This isn't over, Amaka whispered, trembling. He'll come back. Tang wrapped his arms around her, holding her tight. Then we'll be ready. Next time, he won't escape. She tilted her head back to meet his gaze, their foreheads touching. No more running, she vowed. We face him together. Tang's lips curved into a fierce, determined smile. Together. And for the first time, the idea of together felt like more than survival. It felt like destiny. The morning after the attack was strangely quiet. Too quiet. Tang Chi's private estate was a fortress now, swarming with armed guards and security drones. Every entrance was sealed, every shadow scrutinized. Still, unease lingered in the air like smoke after a fire. Amaka stood by the window of their bedroom, staring out at the horizon as sunlight broke through heavy clouds. She clutched a steaming cup of tea, but it did nothing to warm her trembling hands. This doesn't feel like a victory, she whispered. Tang Chi, standing behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. It's not over, he said softly. Chen is hiding, licking his wounds, planning his next move. That silence you feel? It's him plotting. Amaka closed her eyes, leaning into his strength. I hate that he's still out there. That he can hurt us whenever he wants. Tang's jaw tightened. Not for much longer. My men are closing in on him. Soon, he'll have nowhere to run. His words were a promise, but deep down, Amaka felt the icy dread of inevitability. Chen wasn't a man who gave up. He was a man who destroyed, even if it meant burning the world down around him. By noon, her worst fears came true. Tang's phone rang, a secure line only his top operatives used. He answered, his expression darkening instantly. What is it? Amaka's heart pounded as she watched his face harden. What? Tang barked into the phone. When? Where? He ended the call with a sharp swipe and turned to her, his eyes blazing. It's your family, he said. Chen's taken them. The world tilted beneath her feet. No, that's impossible. They're in Nigeria. There, she broke off, realization dawning. The gala shipment. My father's company sent goods to Shanghai last week. Chen must have. Her knees buckled. Tang caught her before she hit the floor. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "He has your parents and your younger brother. They were ambushed near the docks. Chen left a message, meet him tonight, alone, or they die." Amaka's breath came in ragged gasps. "This is my fault," she choked out. "If I hadn't married Chen, if I hadn't." Tang gripped her shoulders, forcing her to meet his gaze. "This is his fault. Chen made this choice, not you. And I swear, Amaka, he won't hurt them. I won't let him." But Amaka's heart was breaking. "He knows I'll go. He's using them because he knows I'll do anything to protect them." Tang's expression turned to stone. "Then we'll outsmart him. We'll make him think you're going alone while we set a trap." That night, Shanghai's abandoned shipyard became the stage for the final showdown. Fog rolled in from the harbor, curling around rusted containers and derelict cranes. The air reeked of salt and oil, thick with menace. Amaka stood alone in the center of the clearing, her hands trembling inside her coat pockets. She could feel Tang's presence somewhere in the shadows, watching, waiting for the signal. "Come out, Chen," she called, her voice echoing through the darkness. Slow, mocking applause answered her. Chen emerged from behind a stack of containers, flanked by a dozen heavily armed men. He was dressed in black silk, his face illuminated by the flickering glow of the dock lights. Beside him stood her family, bound and gagged, terror etched into their eyes. "Amaka," Chen drawled, savoring her name like poison on his tongue. "How touching. You came just as I knew you would." Amaka's chest constricted at the sight of her parents and younger brother. "Let them go, Chen. They have nothing to do with this." "Oh, but they do." Chen's smile was cold and sharp. "Your father stood in the way of my expansion. Your family name gave you power you never deserved. Now, it will destroy you." Her voice shook, but she stood tall. "This isn't about business. This is about your ego. You can't stand that Tang Chi and I beat you." Chen's smirk darkened. "Beat me? My dear, you've barely scratched me. Tonight, you'll watch everything you love burn." He raised his hand, and one of his men pressed a gun to her brother's head. "No." Amaka screamed, lunging forward. Chen caught her by the arm, his grip bruising. "Ah, not so fast." His lips brushed her ear as he whispered, "You should have been mine, Amaka. Even now, part of me almost pities you." "Pity me," she spat. "I would rather die than belong to you." Chen's eyes flashed with fury. "Then die you shall." A sharp whistle pierced the night, the signal. In an instant, chaos erupted. Tang Chi and his men descended from the shadows like a storm. Gunfire split the air, deafening and blinding. Amaka ducked, scrambling toward her family as Tang Chi charged directly at Chen. "Get them out of here!" Tang roared to his team. Amaka's hands shook as she untied her brother's ropes, then her parents'. Tears streamed down her face as she urged them toward safety. "Go! Run to the van, now!" Behind her, the clash between Tang Chi and Chen reached its peak. Chen fought with wild desperation, his movements erratic but deadly. Tang was a controlled fury, each strike precise, fueled by love and rage. "You ruined everything." Chen snarled, swinging a blade. Tang blocked it, shoving him back. "You did that yourself, Chen. You used Amaka like a pawn, and now you'll pay." Chen lunged again, but this time Tang was ready. He twisted, disarming Chen and driving the blade into a wooden crate beside them. "This ends now," Tang growled. But Chen wasn't done. With a guttural roar, he pulled a hidden gun from his jacket and aimed directly at Amaka, who was helping her parents into the van. "No!" Tang screamed, leaping between them. The shot rang out. Tang staggered, clutching his side as blood bloomed across his shirt. Amaka's scream ripped through the night. "Tang!" Before Chen could fire again, one of Tang's men shot him cleanly in the chest. Chen fell backward, his face frozen in shock as life fled his body. The battle was over. Chen was dead. Amaka cradled Tang Chi in her arms, her tears falling freely. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please, don't leave me." His hand rose, trembling, to cup her cheek. "I'm not going anywhere," he rasped. "You're my wife. My future. Our dynasty, it starts now." "Dynasty," she choked out, half laughing, half sobbing. "We don't even know if we'll survive tonight." Tang's lips curved into a faint smile. "We will."
Because we're stronger together. She kissed him fiercely, sealing the vow between them as the first light of dawn broke over the harbor. The sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Tang Chi's private villa, painting the room in hues of soft gold. It was peaceful here, far away from the chaos and bloodshed of the past weeks. Amaka sat by Tang's bedside, her hand clasped tightly around his. For 3 agonizing days, he had been unconscious, recovering from the bullet wound Chen had inflicted. Her heart had been a storm of fear and regret, haunted by the thought of losing him after everything they had fought for. When his fingers finally twitched beneath hers, relief washed over her so powerfully it nearly knocked her breath away.
"Tang," she whispered, leaning close.
"Can you hear me?" His eyes fluttered open, dark and intense even in their exhaustion. A small, wry smile curved his lips. "Of course," he rasped. "I wouldn't dare leave you to run our empire alone." Amaka laughed through her tears, pressing his hand to her cheek. "You scared me," she admitted, her voice breaking. I thought I was going to lose you." "You'll never lose me," he vowed, his grip tightening. "I promised you forever, Amaka." "And I meant it." News of Chen's death spread through Shanghai like wildfire. Some mourned the fall of a powerful figure. Others celebrated the end of his reign of manipulation and terror. But his legacy of chaos didn't vanish overnight. His allies and enemies alike began circling, each seeking to claim the fragments of his empire. Without decisive action, everything Tang Chi and Amaka had fought for would crumble. Tang insisted on attending the first major board meeting after his recovery. Dressed in a dark, immaculately tailored suit, he exuded strength and dominance, though Amaka could see the tension in his posture. When they entered the gleaming boardroom together, murmurs rippled through the gathered executives. "Chen's gone," Tang announced, his voice like steel. "His betrayal will not poison this company any longer. Those loyal to him are free to leave now. Those who remain will answer to me, and to my wife." Amaka's heart stuttered at his words. He was openly claiming her as his equal before the most powerful men and women in the room. A few dared to protest. "She's an outsider," one sneered. "A Nigerian heiress with no understanding of our operations." Tang's hand slammed down on the table, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "She's my partner," he snarled. "Anyone who questions her questions me. And I do not tolerate betrayal." Silence fell. No one dared speak again. Amaka lifted her chin, her voice calm but firm. "I may not have been born into this world, but I understand power. I understand loyalty. And I will fight to protect what we are building, together." In that moment, she wasn't just an heiress or a pawn in someone else's game. She was a queen. That night, back in the privacy of their villa, Tang and Amaka finally allowed themselves to feel. The danger was past, the mask stripped away. For the first time, there were no schemes, no threats, no lies, only them. Amaka traced the scar on his side with trembling fingers. "You nearly died for me," she whispered. "Why?" Tang caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. "Because you're worth everything," he said simply. "When Chen tried to use you, I swore I would never let anyone take your power again. You're not just my wife, Amaka. You're my equal. My partner. My home." Tears filled her eyes, but they weren't of sorrow. They were of joy. Of freedom. "I love you," she breathed. The words were a release, a truth she had been holding back for far too long. His eyes softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through his usual iron control. "And I love you. Fiercely. Completely. Eternally." Their lips met, and the kiss was fire and silk, soft and scorching, passionate and tender. The night became theirs, a celebration of survival and the blazing future ahead of them. Weeks later, Amaka stood beside Tang at a glittering gala, her hand resting proudly on his arm. The room was filled with the most powerful figures from across Asia and Africa, gathered not for business, but to witness a union of power unlike anything they had ever seen. The MC's voice rang out, formal and reverent. Presenting Tang Chi and Amaka Tang, the rulers of a new era. Applause thundered through the hall. Cameras flashed. But Amaka didn't care about any of it. She turned to Tang, her smile radiant, her heart steady. "This is it," she murmured. "Our beginning." Tang's gaze burned with pride and love. "No," he corrected softly, leaning close so only she could hear. "This is our dynasty. Built on fire, silk, and the unbreakable bond we forged." They stepped forward together, a united front of strength and passion. Months later, Amaka walked through the gardens of their villa, sunlight warming her skin. She placed a protective hand on her belly, a small, secret smile tugging at her lips. Their child. The ultimate symbol of everything they had survived, everything they were building. Tang appeared behind her, wrapping his arms around her and resting his hands gently over hers. "Are you ready to tell the world?" he asked, his voice low and reverent. Amaka tilted her head back, meeting his gaze with a mixture of love and determination. "Yes. This is the next chapter of our story." Tang kissed her temple, his words a vow. "Our dynasty will last for generations." As they stood there, surrounded by beauty and possibility, Amaka knew that every sacrifice, every battle, every tear had been worth it. She wasn't just the heiress who had once been a pawn. She was a queen who had claimed her throne, and beside her, a king who would burn the world to protect her. Together, they had turned betrayal into power, and pain into a legacy that would never be forgotten. And so, hand in hand, Amaka and Tang Chi faced the future, not as survivors of Chen's treachery, but as rulers of an empire forged in love, war, and unbreakable trust.